Welcome to How Do You AI. Thank you, Brad, for being on the show.
Yeah, I'm Brad
Awesome.
Costanzo. I'm the founder of AcceleratedIntelligence.ai. My company does AI enablement, consulting, advisory, teaching. We also build apps and app software automations that just help business owners, primarily small business owners, just really, first of all, understand how to use this crazy technology, as well as find ways to actually move the needle with their business and not just do AI for AI's sake.
Love that. Love that. And we'll talk a lot of AI related workflows, and I want to I want to start with a couple of questions, and we can jump right into the demos.
Yeah.
What's been sort of your big takeaways as the whole chatbot evolution to agentic and everything in between that has happened in the last 3 years, and what are some of your big takeaways?
So some of the biggest takeaways at a high level is, AI, first of all, anybody who's even paying attention is overwhelmed by the speed and breadth of innovation that's happening. It's like being behind the wheel of a Formula One car when you've only driven a Honda, and it's like exciting, it's breathtaking speed, but you're like pinned to the back, paralyzed, going, oh my God, what's going on? And it can also be really overwhelming to see all of these new tools come out and to see all of these new things, and it's like it's euphoric, but it's also disorienting. I call it toolphoria, right? Like, oh, look at all this stuff, but where do I start? And it took me about a year of working with business owners from all shapes and sizes, trying to do all types of things, to realize that AI only does 5 things, nothing more. And I call this the 5 buckets framework to simplify AI. And what it allows me to do, and that's my clients as well, is go, all right, wait a minute, I don't have to chase every squirrel, but let's look at these 5 buckets, and I'll tell you why I call them buckets in a second. And then find those projects that are going to move the needle in their business. So the 5 things that AI does is it helps you think, create, communicate, analyze, and automate repetitive tasks. And every single thing, I haven't found another bucket. Everything falls into there. So like the thinking bucket is, research, strategy, ideation, coming up with plans. All the stuff that the public probably doesn't see. It even helps, it can be a personal therapist or a coach for you. The creating bucket, we ask it at first principles, what does AI create? Text, images, audio, video, and code. And combinations of them, right? Like it can create an entire script, video, audio, images, and even turn that into a program, right? There's a lot of things you can do. And that's where most people who are kind of dabbling in AI kind of stop. They think and create. The communication bucket, though, is really important. A lot of people are familiar with chatbots and voice agents and email agents that can draft replies to your emails and help clean it up and organize your inbox. Creating speed to lead. A lead comes in. If you're not answering that lead within 5 minutes, the chances of closing that client go dramatically down, especially if you're in the services industry. Always on voice agents that work around the clock, that can set appointments and integrate with your calendar. These are huge. But there's also communicating with your employees, creating up employee wiki bots that just make it easy for them to find company policies. And the next 2 buckets, the analysis bucket, people don't realize that it can do 2 types of analysis: quantitative, spreadsheets, data, etc., Excel, but also qualitative analysis. Anytime I write a blog post or a piece of sales copy or something like that, I will upload it to there. I'll have it analyze, like, humanize it, take away the AI generated writing telltale signs like the M dashes. But I also love using it for, let's say it's sales copy, and I'll put it in there and I'll say, my business and my ideal customer profile is this. Act as my customer profile and read this copy and tell me, is any of it confusing, unbelievable, or boring? Like, analyze it from that state, like from another perspective. And then I'll jump back to the creating bucket and like make it better. Doing data analysis is great because although AI can sometimes get tripped up and make mistakes with data, you have to be a little careful because it's not as great at numbers as it is with letters, as you probably know. I'm not a data analyst, and I may have a ton of data on my customers or my website traffic or something else, or even just industry research. I'll dump it in there and I'll say, look, this is what this is. Find stories in the data that help me make decisionable. I just don't know, what should I even look for? And it does a great job of going, oh, well, here's some trends I found that might be useful. And I found that to be really good. And then the last bucket kind of is wraps them all together. That's that automating bucket, agentic bucket. Like, it automates repetitive tasks, ties things together. And so the reason I call these buckets is that every single person, business owner or not, is carrying these buckets. We're all thinking, creating, communicating, analyzing, and doing repetitive things. So I say, before you do the cool stuff, just weigh your current buckets. What's the heaviest right now? And then whether you're working with yourself or working with an AI agency or consultants, go, how do we use AI and automation to lighten this load and get this off my plate? Like if you spend all your time creating social media content and hate it, well, let's see if we can make that an agent that does this for you. And now you've got some free time. Now either empty these other buckets or go do these cool new ideas that have been in your someday pile. And so that was one of the biggest insights, going, wait a minute, it only does 5 things and I'm doing those things anyway. Like it's kind of goes back to like some basic stuff, but since nothing in AI feels basic anymore, everything's super advanced, it's kind of good to go back and slow down. You may only find 1 or 2 things, but those can completely change the trajectory of your business.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So hopefully does that make sense, or did you have any?
Absolutely. No, I think that absolutely makes sense, and I think you wrapped it all very well into those 5 buckets. I think
Good.
that's awesome. And we'll talk more about some of these areas, but let's jump in and start with some of the demos that you have planned, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I got a couple things I can show off here that
Awesome.
I've been doing, and maybe it'll entice somebody else. Before I do that, I wanted to give just one more theoretical aspect. Is that everybody's in a different stage with AI, and I'm sure the people listening to this, some of them are maybe not, maybe they're just resistant. They haven't even started to play with it, but they're looking at it. And then there's some people who are probably just rock stars at it, just making good stuff. But I found that everybody goes through 1 of 5 stages of evolution in AI, and I'm just going to touch on these briefly. But it is important to know where people are at. This first stage I just call the resistant, right? They either haven't started, or they're like, no, on principle, I'm not going to touch it. I'm team human only. But you can't stay away from AI long because it's getting integrated into all of our devices anyway. Then there's the next stage. And by the way, everybody goes through these stages. Then you're a dabbler. You're playing around with it. Maybe you're hey, create me a song lyrics or whatever for my wife's birthday. Or you're just kind of seeing what it can do, and you're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and going, all right, this is kind of cool. You're probably not necessarily using it for production. Then the next stage I call the replacer stage. The replacer is the one who says, all right, AI can do a lot of cool stuff. I need to write an email. And you go into AI, you say, here, write me an email about this, and it does it for you. I need to write a blog post about peptides, whatever your topic is, and it does it for you. And then typically those people just go, oh, this is good, maybe make a couple changes and publish. The problem there is that's where AI slop is born. And where everybody kind of is like, oh, it's just AI generated. I see all your M dashes. It's not this, it's that. And those are the ones, it's got all the telltale signs. The people got it done quicker. It replaced what they were doing, but it didn't necessarily make it better.
Yeah.
So the next stage is the amplifier stage. And this is where you feed in AI your context, your background. You actually take a couple steps back and you pause. You think about the SOPs. You think about the templates. You really feed AI with you or your business, and you let it do it better. So if I'm going to write an email, it's got templates, it's got all my background, it's got all this other stuff, and I go, now do it. And now it does it in my voice better than me, etc. But it's still, that amplifier stage oftentimes still requires you to be the driver of it, sitting down on the keyboard, hammering it out. And then the ultimate stage is the orchestrator stage, right? So it's resistant, dabbler, replacer, amplifier, and finally orchestration. I don't know, this is the stage that I'm trying to get better at. I'm not great at it. I don't think that many people are great at orchestration because agents are still so new, and they're young and they're trying to find their legs. But the idea that you can have all of these amplified processes, these little mini agents that, all right, this is a process, you always follow this, whenever I need this, you do it, and there's multiple steps. And then ultimately, you've got an agent who orchestrates the other agents, right? And then in the most ideal world, you sit on top. I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. I'm kind of the chairman of the board, and I'm looking down at all my agents who are just doing all the work for me, right? That's kind of this utopian place. I haven't seen too many people who have been able to run completely agentic companies because it still makes mistakes and you want a human in the loop. But understanding where you are and where you ultimately should be, I think we all want agents to do all our work for us so we can go play.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things I'm doing on the orchestration layer here when I share my screen. But I think it's important that people understand where they're at and to understand that there is a process, right? You got to dabble before you replace. You got to replace before you amplify.
I agree. Crawl, walk, run, 100%.
Right? Cool. And all right, so I'll share my screen here and I will show you a couple things. Speaking of those stages, I'll show you one of the simplest things I did here.
Okay.
Which, where is the share screen button? Let me just see, share screen. I've got 3 screens, so I got to make sure I'm doing the right one here. I think it's this one. Tell me if you see my screen.
Yes,
You see
I
the
see
one
it.
that says discover which stage?
Yes, yes.
Cool. All right. So I was just talking about something that I actually built. I used AI. In this case, I may have used Lovable or something like that to
Okay.
build this. So I had my concept. I was like, I want to build a lead generating assessment that I can give people that will take them through this some questions, like 10 different questions, so they can find out what stage they're in. Now I bring this up because if you're a business owner or an executive or somebody you're in charge of like generating leads, assessments are great. They're interactive, they provide value, and they're easier than ever to create with AI. You can just say, the goal of my thing is to do this, help me come up with some questions and create a report. So everything I did, I'm about to show you, it probably took me 10 minutes to create soup to nuts. So I'm not gonna read all these questions, I'm just gonna show you like 10 questions. Hey, how often does AI show up in your actual work versus not playing around, right? And they just start to answer questions. When they're done, it drops them off into this, right? The results. Hey, you're probably right here. Well, what does that mean? Well, it says, all right, this is the stage you're in. This is what you believe. This is what keeps you stuck. The key to advance from replacer to amplifier is to stop using AI to do your old processes faster, start giving it context so it can produce outcomes. And now if somebody wants to read about all the stages, right, this is valuable. This is better than just giving them a free report because it's interactive. It's like, oh, this is where I'm at. And then it shows them a roadmap of where they need to be. And then I had the thing, and by the way, all of the copy on here was created by AI. I gave it concepts and context, but I didn't write any of the copy. Awesome. The stakes of staying here. This is what it costs you to stay here. What's holding you back? As a replacer, this is your bottleneck, but this is your current strength. So the one move you have to do is stop giving it tasks, start giving it context. Now the full progression path is here, right? You're here. This is where you need to be.
Yeah.
2 paths forward, figure it out yourself, or get help from somebody who's built the path. That's me. Here's how we work. Our approach is built around you, blah, blah, blah. Explore how we can help. And it takes them to my consulting page.
Yeah.
So I bring this up because it's very easy if you're a business owner to go, how do we create lead magnets that are interactive and create assessments, et cetera? And I mean, depending on what tool you're using, damn near everyone can do this now. You go in, tell it what you want to do, come up with the questions, come up with the content, and say deploy it. So I've done a bunch of these, and they're really effective. And I think anybody in business can do this.
Makes sense.
All right. So I'll move on to a couple other things. I'll get to the whole orchestration layer.
I have a quick question around this. How do you
Yeah.
deploy this? Do you create a landing page on your business? How do you deploy these kind of assessments on your?
Yeah, so it makes it really easy. This one I actually used. I do these in different ones. So Lovable is one that Lovable and Replit I do a lot in, and it makes it really easy to deploy, like extremely easy. I'll show you an example here in a second. Actually, let me go into my Lovable account.
Okay.
Lovable.dev. And if I come over here to, this is another assessment I built called Revenue Leaks. And so all I did is earlier on, I had just said, hey, I created an assessment somewhere else. And I was just, hey, I want to recreate this. And I just talked to it on the left-hand side, right? Like, okay, here's what I want. Make it like this. Great job. I want this to happen. I want that to happen. And, I can go through it. Now, if I want to publish it, there's 2 ways I can do it. I click publish, and it will either give me a lovable domain like this, revleaks-assessment.lovable.app, or I can connect an existing domain. So I connected a domain, which is AcceleratedIntelligence.ai is my website. And I just said, here, use this as a subdomain. And it was like 2 buttons that automatically configured it at Cloudflare for me. And now all I have to do is come back and share. All I got to do is share this link. And boom, it's easy.
Cool.
Right? So
Love
publish it out, put it on a subdomain, done. And it makes it crazy, crazy easy to do. So now, here I can either just use the lovable.app domain, which a lot of people do. It doesn't really matter. Most people don't know what Lovable is, but I just connected it to my own website and it makes it easy.
So
And
you
then
keep everything as a subdomain. That's the goal. Each time you have an application, you just deploy them as a separate subdomain.
yeah, and I could probably do it another way, but this is just one click easy.
Cool. Cool.
And then I also use Go High Level. Go High Level is a CRM a lot of people are familiar with.
Yep.
And so like I'll show you real quickly. They have a new feature. It's like a vibe coding platform inside. It's not as robust, but I come over here to AI Studio and I come down here and it works very similar to Lovable. Like I just said, hey, here's what I want to do. Like here's the scope, overview, purpose, etc. Like I didn't even write all this. I just basically verbally vomited into like ChatGPT and it created a product requirement doc. And it's like, okay, I got you. Yep. I connect the forms. Like, so it automatically connected the forms inside and I just started to play with it. Here's what I want. This is that that pyramid I showed you. And then I go to click publish and it's the exact same thing. Like they give me this raw, ugly URL that I can use. Or if I want to add a custom domain, I click here. I just say like assessment.AcceleratedIntelligence.ai. And then it says, hey, it looks like you manage the DNS on Cloudflare. Click this button here and we'll configure your Cloudflare for you. And it does it for me. And then now I have this URL here called, assess-AI stages / whatever. And that's how easy it is. Awesome. And then inside my Go High Level account, I have a form because I want, at the end of this, it asks for their email. I just say, hey, I've built this form over here, integrate it. Somewhere it says, like I told it to integrate it. And it's like, okay, got you, done. Right. And so I'm looking for the whole integrate the form thing. I don't even see where I did it. Say, hey, if I add a few fields of the opt-in form, will you automatically display them? And it's like, yep, I'll do it. I was like, okay, cool. Add it. Change the color. Do this. Talk to it. And within, once more, this probably took me 20 minutes to make from soup to nuts.
Awesome.
And these things are great lead generators. Just creating assessments all day long. You can come up with the most creative, wacky assessments. Lovable, Claude, Go High Level, Codex, anything you're using.
Cool.
All right. So here's another use. We're talking about Lovable. Another thing I love to do, I'll create these little apps. And one of the apps that I created was designed to get people who are marketing their business. Because I do, marketing and growth and AI consulting all kind of combined. And so I realized that a lot of business owners need to post on social media and they hate it. And one of the most effective ways to post on social media is through telling stories. Call it story selling. And it's it's a lot different than just say, here, I'm going to tell tips, like 10 tips on how to do X, Y, Z. But if you tell it in a story, it's much more engaging. The problem is most people don't know how to tell good stories, especially when it comes to business. So I started off by building out a custom GPT inside ChatGPT called Story Selling. And it's just, I broke down all the frameworks behind the scenes of like, here's how to tell really good stories. And what this will do is it'll kind of interview you and pull the stories out of your head. And then it'll structure them with business goals in mind. And what I did in the beginning is I just created a custom GPT along with a landing page. And it just says, hey, in fact, I'll show you what that looks like right here. And this is an AI generated landing page. I told it what I wanted to do. I think Claude or Gemini made this one. And it's like, all right, get Story Selling OS, one-time fee. It's not even a monthly fee. It's just, here's what it does. And what I've been delivering is just in essence, a custom GPT or a skill for Claude and ChatGPT. But just last Friday, I started to screw, and I've sold like 1,300 of these at 29 bucks, right? And by the way, those are amazing lead generators for new clients because they're like, hey, I'm coming to you for this tool so I can learn to be a better storyteller, and I'm using AI, and now they like it, and they come to me and like, oh, Brad, what else can you do, right? And I get to sell them more consulting. So it's a great paid lead generator with a tool. Now, I validated it by selling a custom GPT. But what I've been doing lately, and I'm going to show you, you're going to be the first person outside my company to see this work in progress, which is an actual app outside of a custom GPT. It kind of looks like this, right? And by the way, I'm still playing with the user interface. I'm playing with everything. Yep. So actually, if I go to it looks like this, Story Selling OS. The stories that sell your business are already inside it. This app pulls them out. So it's a really nice AI generated landing page that Lovable made for me, right? And so if they access it, they come in here, and the current interface is this. In the very beginning, what it does, where I actually have to make this look a little bit better, but in the very beginning, it's gonna interview you about your background. And it'll be a chat-based interface, and it'll say, do you have an About Me page already set up for AI somewhere else? And if so, just upload it. But if not, we'll ask you like 20 questions, and we're going to create this one about you. Personal, background, business, target audience, mission, vision, because it has to know something about you. Sure. And then the next thing it's going to do is it's going to create a style guide for you. Now, I can create a style guide, which is like how I write, and I can either upload some existing writing, and it'll create this, or once more, it'll interview me, and it'll create this like, okay, your voice signature, tone, how you write, etc. And it creates this. So now this system in the background, any story I write will know about me and about my style. So now let's say I want to go create a story, right? So I do a new chat. It says, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell, there's all these types of stories. What would you like to do? Well, let's just say I say, create a new story from scratch. And I say send. And once more, I'm playing with the user interface of this. But this has been programmed from behind the scenes with a lot of my data and my processes for telling really good stories. And hopefully the AI does not kind of crap the bed here in a live demo. And it actually, because this should be going a lot faster. In fact, let me just do new chat. Let me do C. I click send. All right. So it says, all right, great. Give me a sentence, paste a new line. To get us moving, answer one of these, or just give me a brain dump. Like, hey, what's a specific moment where you realized a common business truth was a lie? What's a recent win or failure that taught something about how AI? Or what's a line in the sand you've drawn regarding how entrepreneurs should use technology? And let me just come up with one here. So I'll say number 3. A lot of people use AI to replace the human element, like to fake video generation online, or to remove humans from talking to existing customers or leads, and they want AI to do everything. But I think that you should use AI to replace everything but the human element, so you can do more of the human element. So I just dictated that in. I click send. So now what it's going to do is it's going to try to structure a story around this, but it's going to ask me some more questions. Now I'm going to say, just for the sake of this demo, I'm going to give you full creative license to just ask and answer every question and then just produce the story. Like I'm cheating here. I just don't feel like going through the whole thing. Just like, here, make something up. I'm using Whisper for the audio.
Speech to text.
So now what it does is it says, okay, hey, I'll handle the heavy lifting. This is an against the grain story. So, and what's cool about this app is that it will, first of all, as it tells you the story, it's going to give you the kind of the breakdown so you can learn what goes into a good story. Like you need a character, a desire, a conflict, a turning point, stakes, insight, resolution. Now, one of the things I don't like is it actually talked about me in the third person. Hey, Brad, who's been doing this, the goal was to do this. So I'm going to say, this is probably something I have to correct it. Like, hey, why are you talking about me in the third person? I would say, make this first person. I'm Brad. I'm telling the story. Don't talk about me. Right? So I can tell it. Now, once it's done with the story. All right, I watched an AI version of a well-known founder give a keynote on my laptop last week. The skin was so smooth, the blinks were rhythmic and mathematical. It was a digital puppet trying to manufacture rapport, right? So it's telling a story about what I said. Now, let's say I like this, and I like it a lot. First of all, would you like me to adapt this to a specific platform? I'm going to say adapt for email, and that's it. Make it clean. So once I'm done with this, here it is, subject line, this. Now let's say I like this and I just click save. Assuming the tech works, as I said, this is a work in development. So what it did is it saved it to my story bank over here, and it created metadata. So this is a story about transformation. Here's the platform. Is there a call to action, insights, or anything else here, right? So it saves it here. I can download a markdown file, text. I can just copy it and then just go post it in somewhere else. I can see what it looks like here. But over here, I can go into my story bank, and now it saves all these prior stories. I can search for them. I can look for, you know, different types of stories. I can look for, hey, what did I do for email? That should have pulled it up because I said make it an email. So it's a little buggy at the moment. But what I think is important for people to understand, and the reason I'm demoing this is not just as it's a cool tool, is today's Thursday. Last Friday, I had the idea to do this. I was like, I have a custom GPT that I've done. And I just went into Lovable and I dumped in. I said, here's the custom GPT I have. In essence, I'm creating a wrapper around this. And I just want you to help me create a good user interface and et cetera, so that I can actually create a commercially viable app that I can sell. Now, unlike you, Raj, I am not an engineer. I am not a programmer. The things that I'm showing you are completely out of my realm of expertise. I am figuring this out as I go, and I guarantee you I'm making a lot of mistakes. But with AI, I can get in here and I can create a minimally viable product. And let's say that I thought that this had real scalable legs. Well, what I would then do is I'd probably call you guys up. Hey, Bitcot, can you make this thing better? You know, behind the scenes, it's probably held together with duct tape and chewing gum. But anybody can get out here and say, hey, I've got an idea. Let's create a software. And this, even if it's just an internal tool, I'm showing you one of the ways I'm using it.
I love that. I mean, that's one of the challenges I've seen, in the last 3 years is people, if you're spending a little bit of time to create a minimum viable product, it's great. But if you spend 1,000 hours and you're going at it day and night, you're a marketeer. But if you're using your time to build this and then every small bug you're going to have, every issue you're going to have, and like you said, maintaining a SaaS platform or maintaining a platform that actually is going to have sort of, maintenance issues or cloud issues, you really wouldn't be able to run your business. But this is a great tool and an amazing example how you've showed it. It can be a good iterator of MVP. And if this has legs, like you said, you can take from there on and build a product out of it. No, this
Exactly. And once it's ready to go, assuming and I can also validate it with a small amount of people who are going to buy it. And then I'm like, this thing has legs. People are buying this thing, but now I don't know what I don't know. That's when it's time to call in the professionals and say, hey, let's make this thing good, because especially, God forbid I ever want to build this up and sell it, right? Somebody who's going to buy it, they're going to want to look at the code base and make sure it's clean and, as I said, not held together with duct tape and spit.
No, that's awesome.
But
Thank
the
you
ability for people who are non-technical to create,
No, this is huge, right?
yeah, it's huge. And once more, it can be even an internal tool. In fact, one of the apps that I am starting to sell this. I'm validating it right now. This is wasn't even going to tell this story, but it's a really fun one. There's another app which I won't say, that I was using, and it collects testimonials from people. So it makes it really easy to give people a form. They fill out the form, or they can even film a video, and it collects testimonials. And then the goal was to have one piece of code that I can put on my website, and it just displays my testimonials anywhere. And I didn't like the website that I was on, and so because there was a few features I didn't like, but I liked a lot of aspects of it. So I cloned the website functionality, and I created a site here. Let me actually create one that's not logged in, called Proof, PRUFE.app.
Yeah.
Collect testimonials, manage them in one place, embed them everywhere, so you can embed them and they look like this.
So this is the one you created, right? Okay.
This one, I impressed the heck out of myself on this. And I really use this as a learning platform to go, how do I do this methodically? But what's really cool that I did, by the way, this is the inside of Proof, right? Like I've got my testimonials here, I've got my forms, and it's a nice user interface. These are the widgets. I just get the code, I can put it on my site, etc. Settings, help, quick start. It's got all the things. But the way I built it was using one of my absolute favorite tools that comes from Claude. And the Claude has this Claude for Chrome plugin, right? And I click it here. And I'm sure you've used this. So the first thing I did is I went in here and I just said, I'm not going to do it right now, but I said, because Claude, I want you to, like the app I'm in, I want you to take over my browser and I want you to click through every page and learn every feature. And this was this was in the other person's app that I wanted to clone. And I just said, I just want you to go through this and learn what the site does, learn all the features and functionalities. And when you're done clicking through this, I want you to create a product requirements doc that I can use to basically clone the functionality of this app.
That's awesome.
And I just did that here, and it went through it, and it did it. And about 20 minutes later, it created a PRD file. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I went over to Lovable. I said, hey, Lovable, make this. And it did it. And now it wasn't really stylistically pretty in the beginning, but it was functional. And I'm like, ooh, this is cool. Now, within 2 hours of toying with it, I had an internal tool that I could use. So I no longer had to pay for somebody else. Saved me $30 a month. But then I started to push it a little further and push a little further and going, oh, what else can you do? What else can you do? And it started to work for me. But the biggest point I'm trying to make that anybody can use is to use this little sidebar here to interact with the pages you're in and do research, say, what can you do? Figure it out. I just wanted to, hey, here's another site. I want to clone this. And this is the first real app that I really cloned. And it was like, damn, this is cool. So this is this is probably my all-time favorite little function in all of AI. I use the sidebar all the time. Especially like if I come across, I'll come across GitHub repositories, I'll come across other stuff. I'm like, hey, I don't even know what the hell this is doing. Can you please analyze it and tell me what I need to know? Like be my little developer looking over my shoulder.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's there is one of my favorite little pieces. So now I want to talk about agent orchestration. And I want to show you something I am currently in the process of building again, but it's working and it's cool. So we talk about agents, which are teams that can do different things. And we talk about orchestration. And I look at this as the same thing as if you're an entrepreneur, you're building a business, I'm going to go out, I have to hire people, right? I got to hire a chief technical officer, a chief marketing officer, a CFO, engineer developer. I got to hire a customer support rep. I got to hire all these people. Now, typically what I would do if I'm starting this business is, ideally I would hire a chief of staff, right? First, like your job is to go out and recruit the team. And so when it comes to agents and orchestrations, the big thing that clicked for me as I was researching this is that, wait a minute, I don't have to build all the agents myself. If I can start it off with the seed agents, if I can build an agent that builds agents for me and orchestrates them for me. So I was following multiple tutorials, kind of coming up with this on my own, and I'm going to show you something I built here that I think is really cool. So I wanted to make this to where it did not exist, like I didn't have to have any external tools but Claude and my computer, and that's it. So what I'm showing you here inside this, inside my little finder, is a set of folders, right? Very simple. Team, and I'll show you what's in here in a second. I'll show you the way this works. So I've got a team of agents, right? So I've got Dan and Dash and Donna and Mika and Nolan, like they all have names. But I didn't create all these agents, and I'll show you what this looks like inside because it's not technical. It's not that technical.
Yeah.
But I have a team, like a roster of people who do things for me.
Yeah.
And then in my team inbox, like this is basically, this is where I put files in here. I'm like, oh, this is what I'm working with. Like I'm just going to drop files in here that I want to process. Whenever the team produces something, they put it in my owner's inbox. Hey, Brad, come look at this. And I'll show you what I did just the other day. And then I have an archive. These are all the things I've processed. So these are documents. These are things I've created. These are bookmarks, a whole bunch of stuff. I just, put them in the archive. And a database shows me, this is just an internal database that shows what's in it. Now, this is a little like, what are you talking about? But here's what's cool about what I can do. Number one, the other day I went into Claude, and I used Claude Code for this. You could use CoWork, you can use a lot of different things, but I was just using Claude Code. Cool. And so let me just pull this over to the side. And I said, okay, connect this to this folder. So Claude Code can read and write in here. And I can drop a file. Like I went in here and I said, hey, I've got a file. I'm going to show you exactly what I did. This 5 buckets framework. Remember me talking about this in the beginning?
Yeah.
All right. So I have a little article I wrote, and this is in Markdown, and it says thinking bucket, creating bucket, communicating bucket, etc. So it's got all this stuff. So I originally I dropped that in my team inbox. In my team inbox. I just put it in here, and then I came over here and I said, take this article, process it, and then created a LinkedIn carousel for it. Okay. What was cool about what it did is the process, and I'm actually going to do this. Well, I don't even have to do it again because it'll take a few minutes. What happens behind the scenes? Well, here's the final output. So it created a carousel. First of all, it gave me the like the captions to use, and then it created all of these little images that I could use. Like I could put this in LinkedIn or whatever. I was like, okay. And look, it did a really, like, it's on brand. It did a really nice style. I'm like, this is really cool. And by the
Yeah.
way, when I was doing this, I was testing it out. I didn't even know how well it would do. So I wasn't even putting a lot of emphasis behind it. I'm like, dude, this is good.
Yes.
But what's cool about it is the way it happened. So the way my team works is I have an orchestrator named Donna. And the reason I came up with Donna is that if anybody's ever seen the show Suits,
Yes. I love
everybody
that.
wanted Donna. She's my
Yes.
chief of staff. So if I go in here, this is Donna's extremely complex instructions.
Yeah.
You're an orchestrator. Donna never carries out work directly. She delegates tasks to the right team member. She's a chief of staff. She's calm, etc. She knows who's on the team and who's best suited for any job. She keeps things moving. Core rule: Donna doesn't do the work, she routes it. So she receives all the tasks from the owner, Brad. She determines which team member should handle the task. If no team member exists, she engages Nolan in HR to hire one. And when she says hire one, that means, hey, Nolan, go create the agent description. She tracks task status and reports to Brad, and she coordinates handoffs. So if I were to I would say, Donna, here's an article I wrote. I want you to create a LinkedIn carousel for it. And what's cool is you can see Donna's thinking process. She goes, okay, I'm going to hand this off to Nolan, and Nolan is going to find out if we have somebody on the staff to do it. Well, in this case, we do. We have Socks. Socks is the social media strategist, right? And so Donna hands it off to Socks. Now, this social media strategist, all this stuff in here, this is the agent's rules and instructions. I didn't create this. Role, identity, core skills, platform mastery, all the things that you can do, right? What happened in the beginning is when I first did this, Donna sent it to Nolan, and Nolan goes, hey, we don't have a social media strategist on board. Let me hire one. So Nolan, the HR agent, wrote the description for Socks, and now Socks has the job. And then Donna said, all right, Socks, go to work and create this LinkedIn carousel. And then behind the scenes, this happened. It's like, boom, look what I did, right? So what's cool in this is all I have to do is deal with Donna, right? And Donna, if she needs somebody else on the team to do something, she's going to hire them. So let's take a look at who I've got on my team now. I have Donna, chief of staff. I have a head of HR. I have a senior researcher who does the research. I have a data architect. I have a librarian and information manager. So Mika, she's the one who moves files around. I have a front end visualizer, like this guy Dash is like a developer, and I have a social media strategist. Okay, so you know what I don't have? Let's do something here live. I don't have a newsletter writer. Donna.
Did you model this after GStack or one of those,
No, I
orchestrated?
didn't. I'm familiar with GStack,
Okay.
and I've seen that afterwards, but I didn't model it after
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But Donna, I need a newsletter writer who can write editorial newsletters in my voice. That's all I'm going to say. So now watch what happens, assuming we don't get a Claude hiccup. Claude's gone down a couple times recently. So, and I love watching the stuff. And what will happen is you'll see these things kind of pop up in here. But so it's, okay, skill gap confirmed. No newsletter writer on the roster. Engaging Nolan per the hiring protocol, who will consult Pax, the researcher. Checking the team inbox while I'm at it, right? So I can see what's happening behind the scenes, and I love this. And in a moment, what we'll see is a new person, a new agent will be hired. Right? No existing newsletter writer, engaging Pax. So Pax is going to research, hey, what's required to build a great newsletter agent? All right, so we're going to see over here. I love the fact that you can just see the thought process behind the scenes of what's happening.
Yes.
All right. So, okay, now Pax, you are Pax, senior researcher. Nolan has commissioned a research brief because Brad needs to hire an editorial newsletter writer who can write editorial style newsletters, who can do this. Like, it created all this context for me. I didn't do any of this. Right? Return only the research brief content as markdown. Start with a top level heading, right? So, and I believe the way this happens, what's cool is I don't even know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. What I believe is happening is Pax is going to create a research report. The research report will then inform Nolan, and I think Nolan then writes the job description for the new agent here. Now, Raj, have you played with agentic stuff like this that we're talking about here? Because you mentioned GStack.
Yeah, we are right now looking to. We do orchestrators, but not something like GStack. So one of our goals is to create like a GStack kind of a model for like a tech team.
Cool. Okay, so let's see what we delivered. Pax delivered. Now Nolan synthesizes into a persona. Mika indexes the research brief into Brain. Let me check the database. All right. Schema is clear. Saving Pax's brief in the database. I don't even know where it is. Like, once more, I'm still trying to see what's happening, like what's being created. Like, I'm looking for the research brief. It says it was delivered, but I'm not seeing a file. That's okay, because the research brief doesn't even matter as much to me as what happens when it's done.
And you hire a person that.
Yeah. By the way, look, it even created my own org chart here. So this is the people I have on the team.
That's awesome.
Yep. Okay, so let's just see what this is doing. What are we creating here? Well, that's why I'm looking for anything that says today. All right, here's the research brief that Pax just wrote. And by the way, this is a great way to, like, if let's say you're trying to hire a human, like, let it create the job description for you, right? Like, it's gonna go out. In this case, I'm just hiring a robot. So some of this might not be as fun to watch, but it is. I mean, it takes a minute. Yes. But what I'm just enamored with is the fact that I don't have to build everything if I can build the things that build the things.
Absolutely, that's the orchestrator.
Yep. Now, have you started to go down the paperclip route by any chance?
No, we haven't yet. I haven't gone down. Have you used it?
I have toyed with it. It's crazy. So what it does, it's basically doing the same things, only it's adding a really visual layer to it. Okay. I don't think I have something I can showcase it, but it's paperclip.ing. It is worth taking a look at, but it kind of does this, but more like it creates like a kind of a dashboard, and there's a lot more micro controls.
Okay.
Okay, but okay, wait, Ellis. All right, Pax delivered. Good. Scheme is clear. Mika indexes the results running. So Ellis just got created right this minute.
Okay.
Let's see what's in Ellis. Editorial newsletter writer. Owns Brad's editorial. Identity. Calm. Opinionated. Voice rule. Every draft begins by invoking the write like Brad skill. So this is a skill I've given it. Core skills. This is so cool. Let me actually just open this with cursor. Structures essays, 1,200 to 3,000 words, like inbox mastery. Like, look at all the stuff that it made for me. Now, what I would ideally do as a human who understands what this is, I would go in here and manually edit this, and I would look for things that I agree with, don't agree with. Like, maybe I don't want it to be 1,200 words. Maybe I want it to be 500 words. But I can go in here now and I can refine it.
Yes.
But like the richness of that is bonkers. I just don't even understand how great that is, right? So now,
can you show an outcome of what some of these roles can produce? Do you have something that you asked?
Yeah, well, I just showed one, which is like this little thing here. And you know what's crazy? I'm going to see if I can find it in here, because I was playing with it the other day. Because one of the things that is important to know... Well, by the way, before I do that, to run Ellis, just say, draft this newsletter on this topic. Ellis will build it, first of all, editorial calendar, all this stuff, so it'll do it. So I could just say, okay, let's write a newsletter today about the 5 buckets framework to simplify AI, right? So remember, it already knows this is in my archive.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, let's do a article about it. I could have had it go research some other stuff, etc. But what's cool is right now, if I'm doing this right, Donna is getting it. Send it to Ellis. Ellis's first move is to invite, to do all this other stuff. And so what should happen when this is done is it should come into the owner's inbox once it's done. And create this, right? So now, Claude allows me to do connections and everything else. Like I could technically have this automatically posted through an API to my newsletter service or whatever, but I haven't even set that up. Like, right, I'm still in the process of going through this really slowly through first principles and making sure that I'm setting up all my stuff. This is personal knowledge management and everything else. But, all right.
Have you played with the whole Obsidian plus Claude Code workflow?
I have been playing with Obsidian as well. Yes, like I got my Obsidian open over here. So, yeah, in this case, like I just drop something raw and I'll say process it, and then it kind of comes in. Like I'm playing with all the things.
Sorry, didn't mean to get distracted.
I'm getting confused at all the things I'm playing with. Right? Like, oh wait, I use Obsidian too. So, but anyway, yeah, you can see this is working, and you can go away. Now, one of the things I did yesterday, as I was looking at this, and I want to see, I don't know if I get off of this, if it'll still run behind the scenes. Maybe it will. I want to see, because this really impressed me. Okay. Here's where I said process the team inbox, do all this other stuff. I think this is the one. All right, here's when I created that task. I said, okay, I have a new task. Grab that file, 5 buckets framework, and then create a 7-slide LinkedIn carousel. So it went in and it did it. I'm like, that's great. Now I asked the question, and I said, hey, where is my question? And I don't know why my prompt to it disappeared, but one of the questions I said is, hey, this is really good, but I have a feeling you could have done a lot more. What else could you have done? So Claude came back and said, Brad, you just used 5% of what this team can do. Let me show you the rest. You gave me an article and asked for a carousel. The team would have been just as happy to give you 10 things. For instance, here's what you did is the carousel, but you could have said, run the content waterfall on the 5 buckets framework. And I would have created a LinkedIn carousel, text post, 3 hook variants, a Twitter thread, Instagram carousel resized to this, email newsletter draft, long form post, 60-second video sales letter script, 30-day content calendar, lead magnet PDF, and a diagnostic quiz. 1 article, 10 downstream assets, same input. And I was like, hot damn. Like I didn't even think about that. Like, cool. And all I had to say is run a content waterfall. Right?
Right, yes.
And I could have done all this other stuff. Now, the other thing I did, and I thought this was impressive, this is what I was coming in to show you. I think it's in this chat. If it's not, so Claude notoriously cannot create images.
Yes, it sucks at it.
And like, you usually have to go to things like
GenSpark.
GenSpark,
Have you integrated the MCP with Claude and see if that works for you?
Yeah, Gemini, all this other stuff. Like you typically have to do that. But one of the things, and I'm looking for where it said it, like, because I asked, here we go. I asked it, hey, how did you create this? I go, tell me in this process how you created those images. Did you use a Claude Code connection tool? Because Claude doesn't do images, and I'm just really curious how you did it. And it goes, oh, great questions. No image generation model, none of that. I wrote Python code. I created a library called Pillow. It lets you draw on a blank canvas and write code. That's literally how the slides were built. Every slide is roughly 250 lines of code. I'm like, dear Lord. It didn't even need to go into Gemini or anything else in order to create
Yeah.
these really good slides. I'm like, I just learned something new.
That's cool.
All right. Now, by the way, here's the newsletter draft it just made for us. So whatever, this is an issue package, one idea, editorial position. So this is like the background of what I did. I didn't even ask it to do that. Here's my newsletter. So it gave me author, subject lines, options, and it gave it to me in Markdown, and then I can take it, right? So cool.
Oh, that is so cool.
Anyway, this, hopefully during this thing, I've showed a couple of non-nerdy things, just like things that anybody can do. This is a little bit nerdy, but it's cool because I'm not using any other technology, and I'm just going in here saying, "Hey, I want a person who can do the things for me," and that's Donna in this case.
How did you get started? If you want to like quickly 60 seconds for people that are just starting on Cloud Code and want to get to this point, do you have any quick?
Yeah, you know what? I just made something yesterday. I'm happy to give it out, and I made this for myself. Let me see. Let me open my Slack with my assistant in it here. I just literally made this yesterday. So I have clients who wanted to know about Claude Cowork, and Claude Cowork is really the first place to start all this stuff, and like understanding how folders work, etc. So I created this partially for myself, partially for them, and it's not real long, but it's an overview from first principles about like the Claude ecosystem in general. Like what is Claude Cowork, what is versus Claude Code, and then it comes down here to say, okay, let's understand folders. So at a very, very, very simple example, create these folders like a Claude workspace, system, context, projects, and outputs. But then if you want to get like really good system, here's what it looks like inside. And just understanding, like if I want to work with things like Claude, Code, Cowork, etc., I have to have my context in. Now, this is not all about agents, but this is about, creating portable, persistent context.
Yeah.
And then it gives examples of how to build all this stuff. Like this is in very layman's terms about how to do this. But to me, it's a really good way to just kind of get started with this. I'll send this to you,
Yeah.
Raj, if you want to share it out. I think, it's a good little resource.
Yeah, I'm happy to put that in the blog post in the video on the YouTube.
Yeah. And depending on where you're at, like this is a good place to just start off with the other stuff, like understanding folders. When it comes to doing these orchestration agents, I'm not teaching this stuff yet. I'm still learning this stuff, right? I'm still kind of going through it. But as I go through it, I'm documenting what I do so that I can teach others.
Cool.
But so I don't have a resource for that at the moment. But if anybody wants to, email me, I'll give you my email address and they can hit me up and say, hey, how did you do that, etc. So learning as I'm going and trying to share what I do as it comes.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Brad. This was amazing. A lot of great insights, a lot of learning, of several things I've learned too. So I know you're amazing at marketing. Again, so much thank you to you for coming on the show and talking to me. Hopefully a lot of people are going to get value out of this. So thank you again, Brad.
Thanks a lot, Raj.
Appreciate it.